Hey everyone, are we finally going to marry mass production to mass customization? You're watching Techstrong Gang. Hi everyone, it's Alan Schimmel and it is Friday. Wow. I'm just sitting here thinking, is it really Friday? Well, truth be told, we recorded this Thursday, but I'm recording it for Friday, and this week has flown by. I don't care whether it's Thursday or Friday. It's quick. Um, anyway, hope your week has gone well and you're ready for a happy Friday with us. We've got our Friday gang assembled to talk about some interesting things. Let me get right to it and introduce you to them. It looks like he looks like he's back home.
Yes, I am. You're referring to me,
Yeah,
right, Alan?
John Swartz,
Oh, okay.
keeping watch over Silicon Valley from
I
high
am
atop
brain.
the Golden Gate Bridge, where his penthouse is. Our Silicon Valley editor, John Swartz. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good. It's rainy. It's a little dark, but yeah, it's a long week, and baseball season's here, so I'm very happy.
Absolutely. Kind of like a Lex Luthor kind of hangout, right? Lex Luthor would have a place at the top of
Let's
the
not go
Golden
that
Gate
far.
Bridge. But
No.
are the Giants opening this weekend or today?
They are opening in Cincinnati against the Reds. They are playing Thursday's opening day, and then they take Friday off, like half the teams in MLB. And then game 2 is Saturday for them.
Excellent. Excellent. Go G-Met. All right. Moving on from John, we're going to go from there down to Texas. I guess there must not be any holidays nearby. I don't see any background, but it's our own Ann Ahola Ward. Hey, Ann, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Easter's not that far off.
I don't decorate for all of them.
Oh, okay.
So
I
I'm not
gotcha.
really like an Easter person. You may see a buddy sneak in there somewhere, but I am not gonna. It's you can't chase every rainbow.
No, you're right. You're right. Somewhere over the rim. You know, Wicked is out on Peacock. So we've
Oh,
watched it
nice.
4 times in my house over the last 2 or 3 days. And yeah, over the rainbow. That's a good way of thinking about it. Anyway, moving on, Ann, it's great to have you on. He is knee deep in his, I'm surprised he doesn't have a Yankee cap on, quite frankly, already. He's our Chief Content Officer, Mike Vizard. Hey, Mike, how are you?
That was yesterday, but I would say Friday I have the same series of processes in my mind. I wake up and I go, thank God it's Friday, which is closely followed by holy crap, it's Friday.
Yeah, it's one of those weeks. And of course, Mike, you and I are traveling, right? We're going to London where we'll be in KubeCon next week. We'll be doing a few Techstrong Gangs live from KubeCon, well, not live. We'll record them at KubeCon and we'll be doing a few not from KubeCon. So stay tuned for that next week. Anyway, Mike, we've got some excellent topics to dive into today. You know, the first is this idea of, can we finally customize at scale to match mass production? And it's been kind of a holy grail, but we haven't really done it. And you think AI is going to make it happen?
To your point, this is kind of a philosophical conversation because we have this article up on Digital CXO talking about this, and it's not a new idea, but we've been chasing it for a long time. But the article posits that with advances in 3D printing and robotics and AI, maybe we are on the cusp of being able to do this finally. But Ann, I know you've been hearing about this subject as long as we have, but what's your sense of, is any or all of this either A, feasible, or B, desirable?
It's absolutely feasible. I think consumers expect customization at this point. I think they're going to start to expect it in the medical setting, because mass production has been happening as long as I can remember, my entire life, but it only fits if the product fits the person who uses it, right? So I think when it comes to medical manufacturing, personalization is going to be the key for all this custom manufacturing. And I think that there's an increased customer expectation thanks to AI, robotics, other things we're seeing. And I think in medicine, everybody's an individual. We're all special snowflakes. So custom fit medical devices and components are going to lead to better patient satisfaction. I think manufacturers the article did say, face challenges related to inflation, supply chain disruption. And I think, it has to become cost effective to start customizing. But I think if the money's there, it's obviously going to happen. And I think the article also touched upon a little bit the importance of sustainable and resilient manufacturing, because that practice will actually help us to reduce delays and keep consistent supplies. So I think that we can expect that customization is going to become common. I think that seismic shift is happening now. It's starting. And I think that consumers are going to start to expect it. If you could 3D print something and it can fit exactly what you need, why would you do anything else,
Well, it's depending on the cost. But Alan, would you pay extra to design your own boat, for instance?
I did.
Well, I mean, I have been looking at 3D printed houses and customizing houses for some land I own in Northern Ontario. Probably going to do
Wise move.
Yeah. Well,
We're
I
going
mean,
there.
it just makes more sense. It makes sense
Absolutely.
to go with a custom printed house or a custom designed house from a set of options. So I think we're going to see, you have option ABC, right? But we can customize this in these ways. I think it's going to start maybe in that way.
Yeah, I think and I think it starts off that you could have, I'm reminded of when I first moved to Florida 23 years ago, and we were looking at new homes, and, a company they're a nationwide company, Lennar Home Builders. If you've ever gone to look at a new home in Lennar, right, the kitchen cabinets come in this shaker white. If you don't like the shaker white, you can instead choose the shaker white. But if you don't like that shaker white, you could still pick the shaker white, right? And we didn't buy a Lennar house as a result of that. But, the next step from that is you could do shaker white, shaker black, or shaker gray. But then the next step from that is really where you get to mass customization, where I can mix my own colors. I can give you the hex numbers and pick any color I want. Now, interestingly, believe it or not, we see this in clothing or online ordering, right? Like, when I first got into the web, I never thought we'd buy clothes online, especially women. Because women like to try on clothes. And I'm not knocking anyone. They care much more about how their clothes fit than I do. I'm a slob about it. But, I never thought women would buy clothes online because you couldn't touch it, feel it, try it on. And you don't know how it's going to look. But yet, they sell plenty of women's clothes online, don't they?
Right. But if you're a woman like me who's 6 feet tall,
well, it's
you need
hard.
Custom sizes. It's a great solution because you're not going to find what you need off the rack.
Exactly. And that's what we've seen is mass customization of clothes online where, I forgot that I'm not mentioning names anyway, but you could stand in front of your iPad or phone and it literally measures you, or you could take your measurements and put it in. And then you can, in essence, get custom-made clothes custom-made for you, right, that fit your particular body. And, is it cheap? It's not a heck of a lot more expensive than buying off-the-rack stuff online because they're doing it at scale. And you don't buy into it.
I mean, I think most women I know right now that are clothes horses are doing rentals. So there's so many services now that do custom clothing rentals. It's thought to be a more sustainable way to.
So you rent it and then send it back?
Yes, or you keep it if you like it. So it's like a try before you buy almost.
Why is it only
a lot
women?
of women
How
are
come
doing
no
that.
one's told me about this?
I've heard of it, and then there's a whole thing about who wore it better, right? There's 10 photos of somebody wearing or people wearing the
Right. Well,
same
you
outfit.
look at the review. I look at the reviews in those pictures to see, okay, is their body shape similar to mine? Are they tall? If this is a short dress, are these tall women wearing it? Or are they complaining about it? So it actually crowdsources trying things on. I think that's maybe the way of the future because it's usually a nominal fee, $100 a month, and you get so many outfits, and then you return them. And it's also thought to be more, eco-friendly because you're not wasting.
And then
So it's
and
where
then
the
what do
trends are
they do?
going.
They clean them and send them to someone else?
Yes.
Which is
Yes, they're
better
dry
than what
cleans.
you experience in the store where people try stuff on and they put it back in the rack and then you take it
Yeah,
home.
exactly. It could be a little icky. Yeah.
Wow, this is blowing my mind. First of all, I got to tell you, Ann, I've only seen you on Zoom. I had no idea you're 6 feet tall because who knows what legs people have on Zoom. But this is a whole new. Mike, you knew about this?
I did. I've heard all about this. Of course, I have a daughter in the fashion industry, so I hear about these
I
things.
guess you would. John, do
And
you?
they are using AI. Believe me, I know one of their data scientists
I've
at
heard,
one of these.
my daughters have talked about this concept too. Try before you buy. Remember, I was going to mention, just throw something out. I remember a long time ago, companies like Intel and some others were talking about or conceiving this magic mirror technology where you would stand in front of a mirror, you wouldn't have to try something on it, it would size things on you or project things on you.
Show you how
That
you
kind of
look in it.
I really looked in it because there was this idea, and clothes is a great example where you wouldn't buy something blind. I mean, you'd want to touch it, feel it, see how it looks on you. So I just want to kind of go back to this whole idea of mass customization kind of plays within all these trends that we're seeing. Like literally every day there's an agentic AI announcement or some sort of announcement involving robotics or customization or going to market. I mean, today it was at PwC it announced an agentic AI. And it's just like all kind of clearly moving in this direction. And especially as Anne referenced, medical devices, components, healthcare, there's so much attention being paid to that and the opportunity. So I think it all is kind of moving in a direction of monetization, especially in that field, fashion, perhaps even in the types of content we consume. It's limitless, but again, it's also at the mercy of things like supply chain disruption. And I won't go down that road, but I think that definitely could throw a wrench into things.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting in my mind is that I can do the mass customization in smaller and smaller factory units that I can put closer to the point where people are consuming things. And if that's the case, then I don't need to go manufacture all this stuff halfway around the world and ship it on a boat over here. I can make it closer to where people are. Now, there's a political aspect
So
to
the
this
edge.
that we're thinking about, bringing manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. And as far as I can tell, we're just going to bring robots back to the U.S.
Right,
And
and that's the gist of it, Mike. This isn't going to it'll bring jobs for people making the robots or building a factory, but it's not bringing factory jobs are a fallacy in today's world. I don't care how many tariffs you slap on stuff, right? And factories just don't have people working lines like that anymore. They are
It's
robots.
also becoming much more cost efficient. I'm doing this feature story on robotics, and I was talking to folks about manufacturing, and they're telling me, the experts, or at least were saying, that it's probably more cost efficient to have a robot. The parts, the machinery itself is getting cheaper and cheaper. Then we get to the point where you literally have this not like dynamic pricing, but dynamic customization or manufacturing. I mean, just to even oversimplify some ballparks. I know the Oakland A's talked about this idea of checking the inventory. Some football teams do this during in game, and to with a better understanding of what to produce or what to make in terms of food and what to sell, so they don't have a bunch of popcorn that's untouched versus hot dogs that are high demand that they run out of. And I think in a sense you could set that same criteria to a factory in terms of producing almost anything once the robotics and the AI are in sync.
Are they still the Oakland A's?
No, they're what they're called. They're called the Athletics, but that's a controversy. Locally, they're referring to them as the Sacramento A's and the Chronicle. Elsewhere, they're just calling them the Athletics or the A's.
Okay. But that sort of, I remember internet first came out. Mike, you probably remember. John, you probably do too. There was this startup Pointcast network that, remember that the idea here was we were going to mass customize your feed, your news, your internet, tailored to you so that you don't have to drink from the fire hose and everybody can get their, and even though that was a failure, the concept stuck, right? People today, we all have our own interesting mix. Here's another thing. Go buy all these 23andMe DNA profiles and you can customize medicine based upon people's DNA. Because that, I think, is something, not buying the 20, I said that in jest. I hope the 23andMe DNA profiles aren't for sale, though who knows. But more and more, we're going to see medicines and supplements and so forth, nutrients that are customized for your particular DNA, for your particular makeup that, works best for you.
They showed a demo of that at an IBM conference like 10 years ago. Someone waking up and, pinprick, and then, we've custom printed 3D, printed your medication. I mean, imagine what a boon that would be for diabetics and other people with serious medical conditions. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, but 10 years ago, it sounded sci-fi-ish. Today, it may not. Yeah.
So I think it's coming faster than we think. And I think that there's a lot of economic incentives now that may not have been there. And there's a lot more political noise in the system too, driving this conversation. So we'll see what happens.
Mike, I'll tell you though, to your point about making the factories on the edge closer, maybe not across in China or whatever, it's not just having the factory and the robots that make the, let's say, clothes, for instance. You need the material. You think the material is made here, right? I mean, one of the things that made England great, right, was they were importing all of their colonies, and everyone all over the world sent the wool back to England, but only they made, was it flannel and what was the other material that their suits are, like felt and so forth, right? So the materials are made from raw materials that oftentimes won't necessarily be grown here in this case, the U.S. Those materials are, those raw materials are then manufactured into finished material, which are then manufactured into finished products. So you may move the assembly, if you will, here, but the raw materials and the processing of those materials, are still going to take place elsewhere. So,
well, according to my Civil War history, we can grow cotton in this country. So I don't know.
Yeah, we could, but there's a reason why we don't. Right? In all honesty, it's there's a reason why we don't grow cotton in here like we used to.
Things, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So it can all go back, man.
Here he is, Eli Whitney himself. Making the new gin.
Cotton gin references. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Wow, guys.
This conversation went way all over the place.
Yeah,
Baseball,
we
cotton,
meandered.
war.
That was a meandering conversation, like Old Man River.
Right.
All right.
Of course, the debate is, did he actually invent that or did he just steal it from the British?
There is that debate, right? But we would never steal IP like some other countries.
Never.
Oh boy. All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back before we get in trouble and ICE comes up here with mass people and deports me or something. You're watching Techstrong Gang.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.
Hey, folks, we're back and we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're talking about video and how AI is being used to first create more video. And then we're seeing some advances where there are new classes of processors known as ASICs that are being designed specifically to make it less expensive to encode video and process it. And that's a step in the right direction. We've seen Akamai earlier this week launched what they're calling a video processor unit in their cloud service that they're claiming is the first of its kind, and it should hopefully reduce the cost of processing video. But John, you have the article on using more AI to create video, and that we're seeing more of this in production. I think, from what I can tell, video is going to be everywhere soon.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it already was in terms of post-production, but now we're seeing this spike in pre-production use, especially among marketers. They can churn out these high quality videos, bigger budgets. Now, it kind of runs counter to what I would have thought initially, but what the marketers are finding out is by using AI and video, their budgets have been increasing. They've been benefiting because they're getting better lead creation and conversions, according to this State of the Video report by Wistia. So I talked to the head of content at Wistia, and he said we're seeing a level of AI usage in video pre-production they haven't seen before, involving things like scripting, script planning, editing, tone of shifts in a script. And that's kind of interesting. I really didn't know what that meant, but it basically meant making a script punchier or more narrow in focus. And before, he said those exercises would take hours among people. Now it takes minutes with AI. So they're kind of cutting down on those costs. They're producing shorter videos also, by the way, which is much more in tune with the audience now. And like, you watch a movie now versus, say, if you saw something 40 years ago, yeah, the amount of cuts and editing is incredibly accelerated now. So people have short attention spans. They like things coming at them in this like kind of post MTV consumption model. So we're seeing that. You mentioned the Akamai news. The use of AI for video creation has surged to about 41% compared to 18% a year ago. The tools are getting better in terms of scripting, brainstorming, and then, of course, post-production like captions, dubbing, and visual generation. So we're going to see more of this. Maybe we might see more of it next month in April at the NAB show. But I think it's definitely a trend that is going to only accelerate.
I agree. So, first of all, hey, Boomer, I got a message for you. Video is all over the place, right? I mean, we live it here at Techstrong. You're watching this video, right? We didn't start Techstrong Media Ops as a video play. It was a written websites. We write articles. That's what we do. But, about 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago, we moved to dabbling in video. And I would say today, we're producing here, and we're nothing. We're just Techstrong. We're not a big media house, but we produce on average of 35 to 40 different videos every week, including the 5 Techstrong Gangs every week, right? Monday to Friday. Mike and I do a bunch of interviews. We do a bunch of podcasts, video podcasts, webcasts. We do a bunch of reoccurring series kinds of shows. And we're a poster child for this. I will tell you that I use the AI, just as you say, John, in pre-production. It writes my scripts. It punches up my scripts. It gives scripts. Here's 2 great examples. We did the Predict event in January. Predict 2025 was The Beat Goes On was the theme, like the Sonny and Cher song, The Beat Goes On. The hero image for the website was an AI image. The whole look and feel of the event was generated by AI. We did a Sonny and Cher, satire thing. Kim Parker, our COO, and me, on I was Sonny, she was Cher, and that script was written by AI. And I said, write this script in this, in the tone of the Sonny and Cher show, and it did it perfectly. I've got a new one coming out, Blues Brothers, for our Cloud Native event, one for the road in July. that AI again made the picture, wrote the abstract, and wrote the script for the videos we're going to use. So that's just in pre. In post, all of our videos are now being put in, and we're getting a 30-second summary, a 2-minute summary for the various social media platforms. And it works, whether it's YouTube Shorts or TikToks or LinkedIn, and it's optimized for each platform. AI just does it. It works. I think anyone who's not doing this is missing, they're going to get left behind. It's boomers, right? Dinosaurs. This is
At my agency, we're using it a lot for video. For captioning is an easy one.
absolutely.
And then voices. We no longer have to hire and deal with voice.
Voiceover, that's dead.
Yeah, I mean they were not easy to work with, a lot of them.
Yeah,
And
a lot of the I was just gonna throw it. A lot of the actors or the voice actors are being replaced. I remember doing a story about that a couple years ago. I mean, it's just so easy to replicate or simulate something that's similar, and with a script created by AI. So basically, it's all a pittance of what it used to cost and time.
It's time that
The time,
is
yeah.
expensive to an agency, right? We run off of time. And so it saves me time of having to go hire one, find one we've already hired, do a contract, all of that. I don't have to do that.
So I was having this chat with somebody who works in Hollywood, and admittedly they have a bias, but and it's counterintuitive thinking a little bit, but they were positing the following theory. They were saying, yes, we're going to see a lot more videos driven by AI, and the bulk of those videos are going to be bad, and eventually people will start demanding higher quality videos, and he felt that would be good for his industry at the end of the day.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I don't think it's going to be as simple. Because it's going to take money. I mean, they're doing studies now showing younger people would rather watch short form video on social media than pay for cable. People are paying for cable and streaming services. There's no way that that's good for Hollywood.
Cable is, is interesting. Don't make fun of me, but I'm the president of our HOA. And we had a meeting this past week, and I said, hey, I'd like to solicit offers for cable, internet, and phone services. And so we wanted to do a little survey of what people in our neighborhood, in our development, what services did they use and what did they pay? Because, I mean, the only game by us is Xfinity. It's the only one that has fiber anyway. And I was shocked that the overwhelming, like 80% of the people are actually paying Xfinity almost $300 a month for cable, internet, and home phone. Now, I haven't had a home phone after I realized the only people who ever called me on a home phone was spam, because I didn't even know what my home phone number was. We cut cable a couple of years ago too, because I streamed everything. But yet, I think maybe because I live in a bubble.
I'm not sure that 20-year-olds are watching YouTube and those videos over Netflix because they want to, because frankly, my two 20-year-olds living in Brooklyn cannot afford Netflix. So therefore they don't watch Netflix, basically.
Well, they both told me if their parents weren't skinflints, they would. Because my kids just say, Dad, what's the Netflix login?
Right. And then, that's just it. Then they go looking for the Netflix login, and then I get an email from Netflix saying, how come you have an IP address in
They
Brooklyn?
crack down on that.
Knock it off. Yeah.
I thought that they were cracking down on sharing.
No, they do, but you could buy the deluxe Netflix program that allows a few more people to glom onto your account.
But what Mike's, your friend in Hollywood, Mike, is on to something, because I think there will actually reach a point, maybe the generic nature of the videos that are done in marketing or whatever, what have you, they're going to probably eventually, there's going to be a percentage of the audience out there that's going to want something above and beyond. And when I think about that, I think about just the emergence of HBO, right? With all the networks that were out there just churning out the same crap year after year in terms of sitcoms or detective shows. And certain segment of the audience wanted something new or something different that's distinguishable, and then that caught on and it grew to where it is today. I wondered that same phenomenon probably might apply to AI produced scripts. I mean, they're gonna probably feel very generic and formulaic.
No,
until
they'll get
somebody else
better as
comes along.
you, they'll
I mean, there'll be
rise to
room
the
for everybody.
occasion, right?
No.
They'll continue to improve as they go. But I got a question, Mike. What are you name dropping here about friends in Hollywood?
He's just a director you never heard of. So,
Oh, okay. I thought it was like Kevin Costner or someone. I don't know.
I'm referring to an actual interview we did on Techstrong TV about 4 months ago.
Okay. But let me though try to reground us here on this. Look, using AI for video for entertainment purposes, a la Hollywood or something like that, or to be an influencer on social media, right? That's one thing. But I think it was Ann said it in the beginning. In today's world, the 20-something Gen Zs, whatever they are, whatever we're calling them, they communicate via video. They get their news and information via video. They socialize via video, right? It's no longer that video is just a movie or a TV show or entertainment. Video has become our basic lingua franca. It's become the way we interact, whether it's us here on StreamYard or on a Zoom call or Teams or whatever your platform of choice is, or FaceTime, or how I find out what's cool, or how I get my homework, or how I do my classwork, frankly, if I'm in school, right?
Or every time we mention Trump, I cannot see Ann's eyes roll the way I can on video.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
I don't really roll my eyes, but yeah, I mean,
You roll your eyes a little bit.
Yeah, you do, Ann. I know. I've known you long enough. I
do this,
yeah,
but I
that's a
don't.
personality tick once in a while.
Hey, now that we know you're 6 feet, I'm going easy here before I get in trouble.
Yeah, and I lettered in a bunch of sports, so.
Really? Very cool.
Yes.
But anyway, no, seriously, video it's more than entertainment is what I'm saying. It's woven into the very fabric of how we communicate. And AI is playing an ever-increasing role in that.
I do have one request. I sure wish somebody would come up with a cheaper way to store all this stuff.
Wow. Well, to the point about the Akamai thing, so again, we live this here at Techstrong. The problem with Akamai having some custom silicon that's going to speed up my processing is I run into the next bottleneck, which is I have to upload the raw video for them to process. And that takes time. That takes time, right? Especially if I'm remote. If I'm here in studio and I got multi-gig connections, all right, it's going to take a little bit of time. But
For
if
a
I'm
small
on,
fee, they will drop a point of presence right next to your office.
I need it in the office, right? I mean, look, you know this, Mike. Our video people are all clamoring for the new Mac Studio Ultra with dual M3s and a whole bunch of, there's, I forgot how many cores and RAM and terabytes and, but these are $5,000 to $10,000 a pop, these stations. And, that's a lot of money to pay for a computer these days.
It's true. The total cost of video is still pretty high.
Or it just takes them a little more time to do it on a Mac Studio, on these good old M4s that are out there now and stuff like that. So,
all right.
I don't know if
Let's pull out those Commodore 64s while we're at it.
I had one.
Play Pong.
My dad had one. Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's take a break. We're going to come back here with more video. We've got our next block coming up on GPU protecting us from ransomware. Have we found another great use for GPU? Jensen Kim must be besides himself. You're watching Techstrong Gang.
SecurityBoulevard.com is the leading resource for news, analysis, and education on challenges facing the cybersecurity industry. SecurityBoulevard.com covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including data security,
DevSecOps,
cloud security, application security, network security, security threats, and more. SecurityBoulevard.com has the largest selection of security content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.securityboulevard.com to learn more. SecurityBoulevard.com, home of Security Bloggers Network.
Hey folks, we're back, and as Alan alluded to, we have this story up on Security Boulevard where a researcher has taken a GPU and used it to come up with the keys necessary to decrypt ransomware. I think in this case it was the Akira one. And it kind of shows some hope for using GPUs to thwart ransomware, and maybe it's a new tool in our arsenal. And who knows, if the cost of GPUs come down, Alan, can we get to the point where maybe we just eliminate ransomware altogether?
From your mouth to God's ears, Mike, but in all honesty, I think before what you've just described comes true, we'll have maybe quantum, breaking the ransomware encryption a lot cheaper and easier than the GPU will. Here's the problem, though. I've been in security a long time, guys, and this is a cat and mouse game, right? So you're telling me the cat just got a little smarter. It's not long before Jerry comes up with a new thing to be smarter than Tom, right? Because Jerry's always smarter than Tom. Do I have it right? Tom is the cat, Jerry's the mouse, right? Yeah. I always got confused, to tell you the truth. But anyway, Jerry runs a little faster than Tom does. And so, all right, so now you've got some new GPU that's going to crack my encryption. Well, I'm going to go from 256 to 512 encryption. And there you go. Now it takes you years again to break that encryption. And when you get to 512, I'll go to 1024. I think that's all you're doing. I mean, I applaud the novel use of GPUs. And as I said, Jensen must be besides himself over this. But I don't think this is going to be the end of ransomware. You just, this is an arms race. And now they just went to multi-delivery vehicles of their nuclear weapons, right? Instead of just a single. There's always a bigger boat.
I might argue a more federated approach will emerge, and we'll use GPUs for the less complex encryption and quantum for the more complex stuff, because it costs money on the other side to use higher rates of encryption, and it will become a battle of economics. So I think we'll see a service in the future that will take on these ransomware issues, and it'll be,
you already have
GPUs, the other half will be quantum.
You already have post-quantum algorithms out there that are open sourced.
Really?
I'm telling you, this is the cat and mouse game, man. I hate being the cat.
So you want to you want to become a cyber criminal and become a mouse?
Well, it's funny you say that. When I was at Still Secure, which was the first time I co-founded a real security company. Before that, I was involved in security, but I wasn't a security vendor. And I quickly found out that the best way to get people to pay for security was to have them be a victim of a breach. And I brought it up at our meeting. Maybe we should have some of the hackers not do anything malicious, but break in and say, hey, we broke in. You got problems here. Let us help you. Then I found out we'd all go to jail if we did that. So we didn't do it.
And yet there's all these gray hats out there that do that, and a lot of folks resent that activity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what? I kind of feel that way sometimes with the bug bounty people, right? We get emails all the time. Hey, I found a bug in WordPress, or it's not even our software. And I'm like, okay, so you were trying to, you were fuzzing our site, and you're telling me about it. Thank you. But it's not even our code. I couldn't help you if I could. You got to go tell whoever, writes that code. Anyway, it is, but that's the nature of this beast. And again, I applaud the novel use of the power of the GPU, right, in brute forcing encryption. And now that it's out there, what makes you think the bad guys aren't going to use NVIDIA GPUs to break encryption on legitimate sites, not just ransomware encryption? Every action has an equal reaction.
Are you suggesting we don't have control over the entire GPU supply chain and it might wind up in illicit hands through third parties?
You could buy them in Singapore. That's what the Chinese do, don't they?
Uh-huh.
I mean, John says, I'm not saying, John gave me like a Sergeant Schultz thing over there. I know nothing. I know nothing.
No, but is it conceivable though that what this this is the software programmer from Tiny Hack wrote about this? Is it conceivable though that ransomware, that there is a reduction, there's like some sort of dent made into it temporarily before there's a reaction? I mean, it could in that, and the temporary reaction drives some of the ransomware criminals away to something else, or they just kind of linger and wait for the next attack vector?
I think you got to understand the bad guy ecosystem. You know, this isn't just Boris and Natasha saying, come, let's get Squirrel, right? There are layers of the guys. The people who are actually infecting your device or organization and asking you to give them Bitcoin are not the people who wrote the ransomware. These are jobbers who are buying the ransomware from yet other people who developed the ransomware. So somewhere, you know, there's Dr. Evil, right? In his factory, and his minions are developing new ransomware encryptions and stuff like that. They then put that out into the ecosystem, and it works its way down to the jobbers who are delivering the phishing scams. And they then sell the information they get to people who just want social security numbers. Then other people want other PII to create fake identities altogether, or credit card numbers, or, you know, there's this whole hierarchy of Chaos Inc., right? And so the people who are working on the ransomware algorithms, John, they stay on top of this stuff. They're not dummies, and they're making a lot of money. So I don't think they're going to just go away.
To your analogy, so for every 10 Toms, there's a million Jerrys. But if we don't start, to John's point, if we don't start taking out some of the Jerrys, even though they may multiply later on, there'll just be more and more of them. So it's not like we can do nothing.
Right.
I get that.
When none pursueth.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here and tell you, you know, but guys, this is the reality of it. Yes, we fight the good fight. We fight the good fight, and we keep, you know, ever vigilant and all of that kind of good stuff. But we've got to prepare for resilience. We've got to prepare for response. This stuff's going to happen. How do we respond? And, you know, and again, as a long time security person, I'm not saying we shouldn't put efforts into prevention, but we need to put a lot of effort into response and resilience. And I just, you know, I've seen too many magic bullets come and go in security in 25, 30 years to think that, you know, this one's going to kill the vampire.
You know, it's interesting. So years and years ago, I did this book with another guy about cybersecurity. Actually, Mitch was one of the people that we interviewed quite a bit.
Byron,
but
Byron Achito.
Yes,
I know Byron. I remember that book.
Yes. So when we were working on it, I went to an RSA conference, and I think Bill Gates was one of the keynote speakers. Yes. And I remember interviewing him and asking him about this, like this concept of I think he was talking about spam, and he said, you know, we could eradicate spam overnight. He had this simple solution, and it just kind of speaks to the point where you can't exactly eradicate this stuff, but you can make momentary inroads. But you're right, it's a process, Alan. It goes on and on and on point. Kind of Spy versus Spy for Mad Magazine comes to mind. It's not, there's no easy solution, but at least there's like some sort of progress on the defense side.
There is progress. There is, and I don't want to discourage people out there. I don't want anyone getting depressed, but there is progress, and we do make progress, right? I was talking to someone yesterday. You don't hear a lot about SQL injection anymore, do you? Right? That used to be the scourge.
But it's still the number one vulnerability, I think.
I don't know if it is anymore in terms of actual attacks, right?
No,
SQL injections, buffer overflows, right? We've done a heck of a job making our apps more secure. A heck of a job. Not to say that we don't still get attacked successfully, right? Phishing. We've done much better with phishing. But I got to tell you, I'm going to make a confession. I hope no one's listening. I actually got an email from MailChimp yesterday that was so real looking, and it just said, and I forgot what the message, the hook was, but it was legitimate. I clicked on it, and thank God I had the protection of my browser. My browser popped up and said, hey, this is a phishing site, go away. And I did, and then I went back and looked at the email, and I went into the header, and it was phishing. They're getting so damn good, and I'm usually pretty vigilant in my mail. But it got me. And if not, my browser saved me. But
anything that shows up in your email has any sense of urgency attached to it, it should be suspicious, because that's the dead giveaway.
Right. The time, yes, the time threat. That's always a giveaway, especially in the text spams that I get, like toll payments, which are BS.
I've been getting a lot of smishing on toll payments lately. Yeah. They told me I'm subject to criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting for ICE to knock on the door. Anyway, what else do we have on this one?
But Alan, if the day comes that you do get kidnapped somewhere and someone sends us an email about it, we're not going to believe it. So
I wouldn't pay a red nickel for me anyway, Mike. Don't worry. Let them
You're
do
in a
what
Mexican
they want.
prison, and you're in a
Right.
Mexican
El
prison.
Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah.
Great movie, by the way. Salvador.
That's a
it's
whole
all right.
nother
We'll all
story.
get on a Signal app and plan our response.
You can- All right. So Mike throws a bomb from the peanut gallery. All right. You know what? It's time you get ready for your Yankee game, my friend.
All right. Gotta go.
Hey, this has been a great Techstrong Gang. I hope you guys at home have enjoyed it as much as the five of us have, or four of us, excuse me. I was looking at the four squares on my monitor, and I realized one of them is me. So there's four of us, and have a great weekend. We've got a great Techstrong TV lineup coming up right behind this show, so watch that. We are, as I mentioned, we're going to be in London for KubeCon next week, though Monday will be a regular Techstrong Gang. We won't start London Techstrong Gangs probably till Tuesday, I think, and definitely Wednesday and Thursday. But until then, everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy the spring is coming. Weather, I hope, for you all. Until next time, this is Alan Schimmel. We're out of here.